Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of LightShare podcast. This time we brought CAMILO BRUSHINSKY with us today, and we're going to talk about so many things that I have no idea what to start with. So if you want, let's make an introduction of you. We're displaying your work on our screen right now, so people can see a little bit of your art and stuff. But man, you have such an interesting style. I was just talking with them before about this rough painterly style that you mash up together paintings and paint strokes, and also photos. I'm not sure if you use 3D, but it's really interesting. And I wanted to know more about it. So feel free to introduce us to your art, your career, your whatever you want to talk about.
Right, thank you so much. No, thank you for having me here. First with the name, I'm CAMILO BRUSHINSKY, and a concept artist and art director of Dragonfly Games. It's a Canadian game development. So about the style and that. I'm trying to mix some of my old styles with what I'm learning right now. I just get mastered the speed painting book, So I've been studying that for a while, just trying to do less in the details, going more for showing the idea, just like a standard concept art meaning, So I always try to avoid this very, very complicated and 3D look concept art, and try to go more for speed painting, trying to have a very good speed painting style that I can show my clients the idea, and then that's it. If they ask me for more render, well, I can go with it, but always trying to work with this style and mix photos, and sometimes I use 3D, and always over painting, but as I will say, that's the base of my style.
Nice. Yeah, I always like loose impressionistic work because it's so much easier to get the idea out, but also you can do more paintings if you want to, just really quickly. So it's good for that workflow.
You don't have to worry about all the details, and it's more.
It's just the story and the mood that you're
exactly
telling, right?
That's very interesting because I've been learning from Marcin Rubinkowski, this guy from Love, Death Robots of Netflix. So I've been checking his style, and what I found is concept art, this kind of concept art, you need to, when you're taking a look at this concept art, you always need to zoom out, always. So you will see all the details by zooming out. If you zoom in, you will see a fucking mess.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with my artworks. So so it's just, I would say that's my style. I'm not focusing on details. I try to put details, but I need the viewer to see my details with they zoom out the artwork. So
something I used to do a lot when I first started, to zoom in and see all the details and work a lot on this specific part of the painting while all the rest is just a mess, and the perspective is not there, the colors are not correct and all that stuff. You choose to focus on the shape of this tiny little blade of grass or whatever, and all the rest is a mess. So I think that's something that builds up with experience. In time you learn that it's better to go from general to specific. And it's something that, traditional painters do that as well. They often, depending on how big the canvas size is, of course, but they usually step back, physically step back, because this is something we can benefit from digital, that you don't have to do certain things anymore. So just zoom in, zoom out, and just keep an eye on the big picture, to say. Some people use the the navigator tool in the beginning. I was like, nah, this, take this away. This is annoying.
I use that a lot.
But then I use it a lot, all the time. I keep having it up there in a little proportion, to kind of keep track of the big picture. And It's pretty interesting how style develops over time with that.
Yeah, but it seems like it was also a very conscious decision. Like, when did you kind of decided that, okay, I will focus on this thing? Like, were you attracted by just that, or were you doing like stuff that was very different and very detailed before, and you felt stuck somehow? Like,
yeah,
what was the process like before?
When I started
the origins.
When I started studying, the origins. When I started on digital arts, I was first like trying to explore in the Photoshop art, like this at least photomontage and photorealistic stuff. So in the beginning, everything was like I wanted to go realistic. So I started being mentored by matte painters. When you're mentored by matte painters, you basically have everything photorealistic. And that's where I find that photorealistic stuff were very, very, very hardcore to do. You need a lot of knowledge about the realism and how real life acts. So and I always say that my art is a mess. So I don't have patience for going 100% realistic. So I start exploring some other techniques. And that's when I found Wesley Gardner, that is a Warhammer artist. So he was also my mentor, and he was teaching me how can you create something from chaos. How you can create something unique and good from some brush strokes. So there was the moment when I started learning more about the concept art and how you can have different styles in concept art. So it was like, no, I don't want to go 100% realistic. I want to have my style, So I started working on that. I started looking at Martin Rubinkowski works, Josh Dorham, that is a good friend, he's concept artist. He also works with the language of the shapes. So there was the change from starting learning the matte painting and stuff to learning more about concept art and how to deliver the idea. That is the main thing of the concept art, delivering an idea to the client, the mode, everything. So that was, I will say, there was the process to start doing photorealistic stuff, to use going into a, let's say, a sketchy style. So I would say that is basically my process of, I say, improving because if I follow my old style, I will do very bad things today because I have no patience for going for the realistic. The thing is that sometimes you find clients that they say, like, I have one that is Phantom Hysteria, this game that I have in my portfolio. They wanted like kind of photorealistic concept art. So I was working on an interior and exterior of a hospital, and I wasn't able to develop my technique in that moment because they say you need to work realistic in this studio. We are not going to allow you to work like with this like sketchy style because it doesn't fit here. So I found like, kind of will always tell you how they want the artwork, and you need to work according to that. So I'll say a good concept artist needs to work even if realistic or sketchy, but you need to move in all the waters. So thank you to the origins, to the mud painters. I'm able to work with a almost photorealistic style in concept art. But also, thank you to Wesley Gardner, I'm able to work with a sketchy speed painting style that is more easy than doing full photorealistic stuff.
It's a nice mix you made there. Yeah. You found your place between two different like extremes per se, right?
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering if you use a lot of layers now, because I see, not even for functional purposes, for like when you work on something and they need a change, it's better if you can make them faster by just having certain things on another layer, separate layer, so it doesn't affect all the rest of the image, because I find it quite it slows me down a little bit, so I tend to use fewer layers. I tend to collapse the things very often, and I end up working on fewer layers because I feel more comfortable that way. Seeing your work and what you're talking about, chaos and creating from chaos and stuff like that, I wonder if this is also your case.
My layers are also a mess. I can say one artwork. No, Oh hell no. Sometimes I can find in my artworks I have like 400 layers. I mean, of different stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't have idea of what I put in one layer. No, I used to, if I'm working with this speed painting style and the client needs some changes, it is just to put the brush strokes, trying to fix that thing, and that's it. So no, I don't I work with a lot of ton of layers. I don't even name them. No. That would be crazy.
Well, that's interesting. It's something I've seen sometimes in like those speed painting videos, where then they reveal in the comments or in the description that, oh yeah, this one took 106 hours, and you're like, after watching the 5-minute video, you're like, what? That was 100 hours? So yeah, and also of course, like the whole list of layer 400, layer 500, and they keep scrolling and scrolling, and it feels like each tiny little detail is like on a separate layer or something.
No, yeah, I use a lot of layers. I cannot count them because they are too many, dude.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's maybe I portrayed it as something bad. It's not. It's something that if you get like a real control of it, it can be super useful, right? I'm just saying I maybe don't have the patience, which it's something like I can relate to you in a way, like I don't have that patience to kind of get that control over every single layer and stuff. So I'm like, collapse.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's depending of what you're working on. If you're working for an illustration, that's way different from working in concept art. I would say from illustration, it will be useful to have the layers, named like the line art, colors, so everything. But if it's concept art, I don't know. I don't find it necessary.
Maybe when there's characters involved, maybe where there's variations of weapons or costumes, or I don't know, those kind of things, because I'm also talking about this from my perspective, because I usually do environments, and that's why I feel more comfortable collapsing everything. Everything is on one layer or maybe more, but very few. But yeah, when you're working on something separate, something that is more complex, maybe it does help to have those other options.
Yeah.
It's weird because I was going to say it's weird to see this talk because like I'm completely the opposite side, like it's not that I name everything, but everything is on a separate group with the with a nice color to the group, like so I know where to find my stuff, and everything's super tied up,
Bro, so I've had those, and I was so proud of it. Like, oh, look at how organized everything is for once in a while,
I always thought that was like the professional way to do things, so I tried to like mold my workflow into like that, but then you just get lost, and I'm not an organized person either, so I just, instead of like layers, I might just merge all the layers each time as they go up. So,
yeah, you'll find your way, right?
Yeah.
What works for you
differently.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, so I was thinking of art styles, like I heard that was something that we wanted to talk about today. So yeah, I'm gonna let you start, man. I know you were interested in this.
A quick note for you to start. You said that like, oh, it's easier to work this way. I disagree. Because I look at your stuff, and to me, it's like I wouldn't even know where to begin to do something that. Because as I was mentioning, like I work on a very structured manner, so to me, it's easier to make the things like tied up instead of what I imagine to be something like, oh, I paint a little bit here and a little bit there on the image, and I notice like this other part, and everything. It's just stacking paint on top of paint, and yeah, man, I find it like very cool to look at. But when I go to work, even if I try to do something like it wouldn't come out, like it's just not how my brain works, I guess. So, calling that easy, it's a bit of I don't know about that.
I don't know.
I think
yeah, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I find it more handy, I guess, to not have to think about, oh wait, which layer was this in, and I just do a selection, or it's way quicker for me. Maybe that's because I feel more comfortable that way and it works. I mean, and you, just as Dom said, you keep adapting, and if a client asks you for changes and you're like, oh shit, this is one layer now, then you adapt to that. You learn how to make changes on that one layer. And it happened to me, and you learn how to make from smaller to bigger changes. It doesn't matter. And if they're happy, they're happy. And if you're comfortable that way, that's your workflow, that's the way you work, so be it. Who's going to say otherwise?
No, you're right. I think we all develop our own style, our own technique, and we're learning how to do things with that. So probably working on a merge layer will be very, very complicated for some artists. Have all the merge layer, and the client say, hey, we need to fix this, we need to do some changes. And what are you going to do? If you are working with a photorealistic style, you are dead.
Of course.
Because you'll need to find a way to do that, and that's complicated, of course, in one layer.
That's why you see so many layers in matte painting, right? Because they can't simply fix it by painting stuff, where they cut this part out, or
I can fix the things by using a brush and using Photovision, and that's it, I will say.
Or the clone way stamp tool or something like that.
You guys use a lot of masks, right? Or mask selection and erasing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
those are really helpful, man. It took me a while to get used to them and to kind of not get used to, but to incorporate that into my workflow and just become like a second nature. Like you bring in a texture, you want it for this area, and you erase all the rest with the eraser tool instead of like just applying a mask and painting it out. So you still keep the rest of the image later. So it took me a while to kind of adapt to that. But yeah, there's like tons of tricks, and I think I'm probably using 5% of the software's capabilities, because I keep seeing like many other artists navigating through panels and like the slider, and you do this and then the levels come out, and so many more complex workflows, but definitely helpful. It's just that if you're not used to them, you won't use them as much. You don't practice those techniques, and you don't get used to it. And yeah, I'm just saying it's okay to try stuff every once in a while.
If anything fails, all you really need is the paintbrush and the canvas.
My man, that's it.
Keep it simple.
Yeah. I think
the old masters.
I think that's important part of the concept art. Is keep it simple. Keep it simple. I found many concept artists that I think this Pablo Dominguez, I think is his name. Mm-hmm. This guy is a pro top and concept
he's
art.
Really cool.
And his artwork, he's so good, and his style is 3D. He uses a lot of 3D in his artworks, and you see his artworks, and that's amazing. Then you have styles like John Sweeney, from The Last of Us, and you have a mix of things. He's also using photorealistic stuff, and he tried to go to more realism. Even when you can find some overpainting, and then you have the other part of the concept art that they tell you like, let's keep this simple. I have one book from Resistance 2, I think is the game Resistance 2, and I was taking a look at the art book. It was all the concept art, and you see that, and you find this messy concept art. The amount of concept art that is like very, very realistic, that is very render, is more for like key arts. In this case of this art book,
Yeah.
So they always keep it simple, and you can see these happy accidents in all the artworks. You have different resolution of images, so you can see that they are using Photovision for this. So it's always like keep it simple. In concept art, if you sometimes you need to deliver the concept art in 1 hour, 2 hours. I don't have time to spend like giving details, so
speed
I need
is
to
highly
learn.
valued.
I need to know, and I need to learn how I can give details without getting in detail, you know. So that's the trick, and that's like keep it simple. It's the language of the shapes. So it's about the language of the shapes, and that's when custom shapes are important. Custom shapes are important. Yeah.
I feel like I'm not using that enough. Like the tool presets, you know, where you select a brush or something and it already comes with the blending mode, the size, the color, and all that stuff. You don't have to constantly be setting it up, you know. But I never got to, I don't know. I guess it's all about like what you got used to, the way you built your own workflow and what works for you. And yeah, I was just thinking, now that you mentioned the concept art books, like the art of books rather than concept art books, because those usually feature, so concept art is not really thought for, you know, being published to an audience.
Yeah.
It's rather for an internal usage.
Yeah.
But that's a nice way for us, you know, the enthusiasts of this, the ones who want to learn more about it, to find out about the concept art of this specific project. Or still, what we see in those books, I think they are mostly highlights, you know, the most beautiful images you can see. And maybe they include some sketches, you know, some thumbnails, something more rough rather than a polished piece. But yeah, I mean, you can find anything you want if you dig deep enough, you know, on the internet. You can find the concept art of anything. It's just that, you know, you get this surprising reaction, like you said, like, oh, this is way rougher than I thought. This is not as beautiful as I imagined, you know. And it's usually those sketches for internal communication, like between you and the 3D modeler, or, you know, just explaining stuff quickly, like with basic sketches and stuff. And yeah, I was kind of surprised to see that at a point. You know, I thought that, I mean, that this is why you get like the wrong perception of what concept art is, and you confuse it with illustration. Perhaps people get so lost in between those two, even though they're kind of merging nowadays. Because I said it's speed is highly valued, but also quality is highly valued in a way. So I remember this time where I was so confused about like illustration and concept art, and I ended up getting more jobs about illustration, whereas where I wanted was more concept art, right? No wonder, like I was going the wrong way. I was not showing what was inside of those images. I was not depicting those designs from different views, not explaining, not, how do you say this, like breaking them down into different pieces and explaining how they assemble together. Or yeah, no design thought process shown, only the finished image. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's what we can find in the art books. Some other art books just show you like the render concept art, but it's also very important to know the difference between concept art and illustration. Now that you mentioned that, I think that's the problem that I have with my students when they just come to me and they tell me like, I want to do concept art just like the masters. I want to do concept art like for example, yeah, like the concept art of The Last of Us. I want to do concept art like World of Tanks concept art. How can I do that? And it's like, I always tell them like, if you want to do concept art like that, you need to think about key art. They say, what is key art? And you just get inside of the pre-production.
Yeah, because it's all these new keywords that you're not aware of when you're starting out, right? It's just concept art. That's it. When
you mention someone that has no idea of the industry of the art, they say concept art, and they say, "Oh yeah, this beautiful illustrations." They say beautiful illustrations, and that's the problem. That's exactly the problem. So I got my students telling me like, "How can I work? How can I do concept art like the masters?" And then I say like, there are different level of concept art. But don't understand levels like one is better than other. No. You have, and this is what we were talking at the beginning. You have this like messy concept art style. You have like almost render concept art and you have full render concept art.
Yeah, they all have their
And they say,
purpose.
yeah, exactly. And they say like, but how a sketchy speed painted concept art? How can you find seniors working with a speed painting style? They say, and it's like, because we all can master our technique, and that's what you say. All this concept art have their purpose.
Yeah.
And I always well, I was my mentor was Ian Bickner. That his work for Star Trek. I don't know if you guys know about him.
Oh yeah, I follow him.
Yeah.
He's more of
Ian Bickner.
like a lot of matte painting and very realistic. He was working on some planets or something for his project.
He has a project of Peter Pan. So a project of Peter Pan. I was working with him in the beginning in that project as well. So I was he was always mentoring me with the thing of the matte painting and the concept art. And I talked to him and say, hey man, I have this problem. The same problem that my students tell me. I want to make this kind of concept art, full render concept. And he told me like, man, get rid of that idea. Get rid of that idea. I mean, you just took concept art, show the idea, and that's it. And then he showed me some concept artists, and I was looking at their work, and I found some perspective problems, like some lights that are not matching, some things that look off. And in that moment, I was like, but dude, what are you showing to me? This looks horrible. And he said, but the idea of the concept art is not looking good. It's just showing the idea. Of course, you need to keep in mind the fundamentals. And if you have a happy accident perspective, you need to be aware of that. You can do it. You can have problems with your perspective if you are doing concept art. Of course, you are not going to have like a monster, very bad thing of perspective, because that's not the point. He told me like, go with do something, keep it simple, and that's it. And you will find senior environment concept artists with this style. You will find senior environment concept artists with this render style. You will always find senior in all the techniques. So I think it's very important to know the difference between the illustrations and the different levels in concept art. I think, and what I don't like from the industry is that most of the studios, big part of the studios, they always try to hire render concept artists that work with this render techniques just because it looks beautiful. And that's the fight that I have in the industry, and that's the problem that I find in the industry.
And the idea is missing.
Yeah, and the idea and the also the soul of the concept art is showing the idea, and that's it. You don't need to go realistic. So that's a problem that I have when I was working with Lunar Tail Games. These people from Phantom Hysteria, they have Illustrator. And they were doing a big mistake. That was they give the concept art task to illustrators. So how can I come to the studio and I'm going to tell an illustrator, hey, this is my speed painting technique. How can I? It's different. Yeah. I cannot say I cannot as a word in English. I cannot compete with you. I cannot.
I guess that's why there's so much confusion, because these two different disciplines are overlapping nowadays for a long time, actually, quite a few years already. And 3D is being introduced, and it all comes from a need, that you have. It just makes it easier for you. It's just like, look, I've been recently getting into Blender and stuff. I've been Andrea here has been helping me understand a little more like the tool and stuff. And why would I ever want that? Like, I'm not a 3D artist, but if you think about it, it helps a lot to have a movable 3D camera, right? Like, can you show me the other side? Oh yeah, let me draw it again from the other side, No, instead you just one click, the camera moves to the other side. There you go, right? So I think it all comes from this need. It depends on what the project needs. So some people are adapting very well, between illustration, concept art. They know how to deliver the idea. And this just reminds me a lot of how at the very beginning I was lacking the idea. I don't know if you guys can relate, but I was so focused on the technical side. Like, I need to paint well, like all the fundamentals, all that stuff. And then the idea, I didn't care about it much. It was lacking completely. And I find that the most difficult thing to master, to come up with nice ideas. Because the other thing is like just practice. Maybe the idea thing too. Like, you just practice all the time and your ideas keep getting better and better. You keep creating this better pattern of thinking, those connections in your brain where you come up with ideas in a more accurate and original way. Your visual library keeps expanding because you observe your surroundings more often and you observe with purpose, with what's the word? With intention, instead of just passively absorbing stuff. And yeah, dude, I don't know. I got lost in my own
I think that
rant here.
one of the biggest things like pushing this realistic style, it's also the amount of control that you can have over the design. Because imagine that, like, on the very beginning, the companies, like game companies, were small, and you as a concept artist would be able to like look over the desk and see the 3D artist doing the model that you just conceptualized, right? Or the game asset or something like that, or you do walk over the other department and do that. But like with games being bigger and bigger and things being outsourced, right? They kind of want to give that full. There's no way that the outsourcing studio can mess this up if I put like every single detail that they need to see to model that kind of thing, right? So I think that the more senior concept artists, they do more often do the rough stuff because they have the overall picture, right? And then you have the junior guy that will have to go there and clean up everything and like put material callouts and do basically the.
Is that kind of mechanical job, like repetitive?
It's a more mechanical job.
Seems like but I think like task.
the need comes from this control that you need to have over the design that maybe before you didn't, because like now games are these huge things that cost like a lot of money, and they don't want to leave up to chance or up to interpretation. One thing when you give them the possibility to like control every single aspect of it, right? So maybe that's one of the things pushing it, and maybe where you can find more of the stylized or rough things, it's on smaller game studios where they can take the chance and yeah, exactly. And also it's away from differentiation, right? Like they stand out because of the style instead of trying to reach the super realistic stuff that they know that they can't have.
Yeah.
And because
depends on
like
the
it would
budget.
take too much work. yeah.
I heard this long ago, like from Feng Zhu, I think it was. Like, cheaper projects tend to be darker because it's like less details to be in the light, so less noticeable and stuff. And then more expensive budget projects tend to be, more bright. Yeah, brighter and stuff. I'm sure there's exceptions and it's not always the case, but in general, yeah, probably he has a point.
There's more like color and all that stuff.
I think one thing happening there is because some companies, some big companies, they want to see like all the details. They want to control everything. In, let's say one artwork, you can have all the details, you can have everything, so it's way more easy to the 3D artists, if you're working for a movie, the mud painters, to replicate that from the concept art, having all the details. But this is what happened is that the masters that I know working with this speed painting style, that they are AAA artists, they always have this messy style where you don't have like much details, but then after you do your concept art, you need to do a mood board, a material mood board, a reference mood board, and you need to explain just every single part of your concept art, So that will give the idea to the 3D artists, to the matte painters, of how everything looks like. Because as concept artists, you need to show the idea, and that's it. That's your job. You need to show the idea with the mood, with everything. But then, as a professional concept artist, you need to reference from the real world. You need to do a mood board showing all the details in your artwork. So I think that it's not only in the indie games that you can find this kind of rough, messy, sketchy artworks, concept artists, but you can also find it in the AAA industry, because there is a way to get there and to do a good concept art, of course. And it's always explaining your concept art with a mood board after that. I don't know if I have an example of it in my portfolio, because I haven't done my portfolio. I have someone working on my website, but I've done it before. And I think Marcin Rubikovsky, he has a very good example of this when he was working for Netflix. He just do the interior part of the Love, Death and Robots of the restaurant, and you take a look at that artwork. It looks messy. It looks like, wow, is this real from a senior? But it is. And then he just explained everything, just every single part of his concept art in another page, other mood board, everything. So I don't know.
Yeah, because it's about efficiency,
I think I disagree with Andrew.
Yeah. What?
I think, I mean.
But I didn't mean that like only on indie studios. I just meant like when you go to AAAs, it tends to be the higher level people that do this style, because I mean they are on the time constraint, so they have to be fast and communicate the idea, and then like you leave up to the other people to detail things.
The juniors.
And then like this detail pass might be a need from the outsourcing trend that's going on, right? You don't have everyone inside of the studio. So maybe what's pushing that, other than like you can always claim that your game is the most realistic one, which I think is one thing that people are doing, right? They're trying to achieve that ultra level of realism, just so it looks like as though it's worth more, I think, to the general public. And then,
also it's becoming more accessible, right? Those tools to make it that realistic. They're more accessible nowadays.
Yeah, so. I mean, you saw Unreal, like the demo, right?
Dude, I just tried the MetaHuman thing, and it's so insane. So insane. Like to see your own characters with that level of realism, stuff that you've only painted so far, maybe even try to sculpt something, but to see it with that level of realism, it's just, I don't know, mind-blowing.
Insane. Yeah.
And to think it's free, by the way, it's even more mind-blowing.
That's free.
Yeah. I mean, they're like in beta or something, like a development phase. It's not completely ready yet, I think. But I thought that you had to join like a long waiting list or something, and maybe if you get picked, they send you like an invitation. No, to me it was that straightforward. I already have like an Epic Games account from years ago, so you just need that, I think.
Yeah, you just pointed out something that's interesting as well, right? Maybe the fact that it's becoming more popular, it's because tools to do that are free, right? And like you can download Blender in one day, Quixel bridges on the Mexican's bridge on the next day, and on the third day you have what looks like a professional painting. Although like probably the design will not be there, but you get to that awe-looking visual very, very fast. So maybe people don't want to spend the time to understand like the fundamentals of the paintings that masters did before, of like leaving less detail in one area and leaving some things like ambiguous and that sort of thing that I think personally attracts a lot when you see like the master painters. The fact that like it's a choice that you make of where to give the,
I love that.
The focus
I love when
of the
I
painting,
see people leaving in focus
3D,
what's important, and then lose brushstrokes around, where we're not supposed to look at. They're just fillers.
Points.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's something I can clearly see in Dom's work. he has this painterly watercolor type of feel, you know, and you can clearly see how he focuses on a specific part, where on the rest of the painting he leaves it all more like loose, and it's still there, you know, but it's like an imitation almost of the way we see things, the way cameras focus on one layer, you know. Yeah, I find that kind of pretty fascinating, you know.
Yeah, I think all of your guys have that, you know, because you have this more painterly style. Like,
yeah, but it's easy, you know, to get lost and try to detail everything.
Oh yeah.
Tell me that.
You put on the music and you fly.
Yeah, I guess in terms of like painting aspect, like what you said, Camilo, about you lose like the soul of who you are as an artist if you just go ultra real all the time. I think that's what can be missing in some
but even
artwork.
realistic painters have a way to stylize colors or shapes, and it still looks
hard.
Yeah,
because it's like it's hard to distinguish sometimes, like who painted what, if it's like everyone does realistic.
I mean, if you think of Pixar movies, for instance, you know, they're not realistic in terms of shapes, but they are realistic in terms of lighting and color and all that stuff, and atmospheric perspective,
clouds,
right?
For instance.
Yeah. So they kind of keep going that route in a way. They're realistic in a way, but they're also stylized in another way. So it's like a beautiful combination, I guess. And everybody finds theirs at some point, you know. They keep walking down this path in their career, and they keep exploring and developing their own style over time. Remember what I always say, right? Like, it's like a plagiarism of, like a self-plagiarizing process of your own art, you know. One after another, you keep applying the changes that you've learned, you keep taking the feedback and applying it onto the next one, and then you end up with something that everybody else seems to be able to notice, but you can't see your own style. You know, like maybe you can try to kind of like, oh yeah, yes, it's like realistic but painterly. But man, some people, like, I mean, it happens to us, you know, like we are able to see that in other people, other artists. Like when you see, before you read the profile name or you see the picture, profile pic, you just see the artwork that they've posted and you already know who made it. Mm-hmm. How did you know? Well, it's you, man. It's your style. It's the way you paint stuff. I don't know. You know, I think it's something we've all heard
over time
at some point.
Yeah, like you keep seeing someone's art to their face sometimes, like over and over.
Oh, you associate
build that sort of connection.
Yeah,
it's like
really useful in events and stuff.
Yeah,
because some people don't have any pictures of themselves online, so
like an avatar of someone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't know what they look like, so maybe they pass right beside you and you don't even know they were there. So
that's very curious, because even if you're trying to simulate others' style, you will always have your own, I don't know, your own thing there, you know. It's like, this is made by Adrian Virlan, and that's it. And you know it. I don't know how, but you know it.
It's like a weird vibe, something that you can perceive. You can't really pinpoint with your finger exactly what it is, but it's like something's there, you know. I was
trying to these days, because I was thinking on that. I was like trying to see, so how is my style? How I can identify my style from others? And I have people that tell me like, hey man, I know your style without reading that it's yours, you know. When some pages feature my work, they say, hey man, I know this is your artwork without reading that is from Brushinsky. And it was like, taking a look at my artworks, and I say, how is that possible?
Yeah.
I mean, why? Yeah, it's very hard to see, but I think it's custom shapes. I don't know.
Probably.
I don't know.
You know, Sparta uses those a lot too, so.
Yeah, no, but I understand you mean it in a more metaphorical way, not literally custom shapes the tool, but your custom shapes, like the way you make them. Shapes. Yeah, exactly. And it's so interesting that this can happen also with line drawing, you know, like you can tell apart Kim Jong-gi from someone else, or like ink paintings or line drawing with pencil, or there's so many people using the same tool yet so different from each other. And I find that kind of surprising, like how can we even tell? Because it's hard for you to be specific on, you know, when you're trying to explain to someone about this. You just say, I don't know, I just know it's him or her, you know. It just happens.
You have mentioned like your students, right? Do they approach you because of your style? Like, is that something that comes up a lot?
I have. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I have a problem with my headphones.
It's fine.
So, can you repeat your question? Sorry.
Like you mentioned that you have students, and I don't know, like if you teach at school or something, but like you have a very particular style. Do they approach you like because of the style, or because they want to find their own? And like you tend to associate, like if someone has a very particular one, maybe they know how to find it, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I teach in the London Matte Paint Academy, where Ian Bigner is teaching also. So nice. I start there, and I'm a mentor in the academy. But I have students that they come to me just to see how they can use my style for their artworks, because they find it like more easy to develop good stuff, you know, by using the techniques of my style. There are many techniques mixing, but I have other styles, other students that just come to me because they want to know more about concept art, how to get into concept art. You know, there is a part of they come for the style, because they want to learn your style. They want to see how they want to learn your techniques. You know? And the other part is just they're studying, and they want to know the difference between concept art and illustration and matte painting. So yeah, let's say I have both kind of students. Yeah, but it's always, most part of them, they come for the style. Yeah, they want to learn this, and they try to do it, but they cannot do it the same. They have their own fingertip. That is what we are talking about.
So the way I see it is that, in my opinion, style is rather a consequence of something else that you do, that you focus on. So, I don't know. This is just my opinion, of course, but I think that's why so many people struggle so much with finding their style, because that's what they are focusing on, you know? They're so worried about like coming up with their own style or like imitating this other style that they're probably neglecting other treasures that it's right under their arms, you know, like they already have it, but they're choosing to blindly chase this other thing that's a style, right? Which, in my opinion, again, it's just a consequence of those other things. And yeah, it's something that I'm not sure if this is the case every time, but man, sometimes I really see it so clear. I'm like, holy shit, if you just focused on following your voice, you know, just do it the way you want to do it. Stop worrying about the way it comes out, because that's gonna be the result anyway, you know. And then you keep iterating and you keep improving your skills, your perspective, your anatomy, your whatever you're trying to do. If you're into robots, you get better knowledge about mechanical stuff and how, you know, machines work, and cars and whatever. And then you keep implementing. Style is not built overnight. You know, it takes years. So it's always, in my opinion, I mean, I'm speaking from my own experience here. This is the way it worked for me. Oh, again, I'm not aware of my own style. I don't know exactly what it is. I just know the way I do stuff. And I know I haven't always done stuff this way. It's a rather progressive type of process. You know, it's an evolution.
Shifting.
Yes, it's an evolution. You keep evolving, keep improving.
Yeah.
You keep adding stuff.
Like dabbling in different styles before, you know, and that helped define my workflow, just through experimentation, like over and over, until, because we get bored easily with like one thing sometimes, so you have to like, you know, constantly change. But eventually you'll find like what is even more comfortable to you and what you can stick with for the long run.
I think something happened with that is you always have your references in art. You have your reference, and I think this happened to all of us. We're at the beginning of illustration concept art. We have some references and some artist style that we like the most, and we say like, "Hey, I want to be like that guy. I want to do artworks like that." So you just start exploring what can lead you to that kind of a style, and you just start learning different techniques, but you always have in mind that you want to be pretty similar to that artist in terms of art, So yeah, I think that's something that is happening. You have your reference, you try to simulate their style, and you continue that path of learning. But everything just to get to the point that your artwork looks like that guy. So I think that's what builds basically the style.
Yeah, I find something very helpful in that way, that you do have your reference, your idols, people you admire and you would like to paint like. So instead of having their work as your reference, try to find out what inspired them, what inspired their work, the original reference, which is most likely rooted in our real world, right? Like, let's say you're into fantasy and stuff. Oh, I want to design creatures like this guy, what if you find out, instead of his creatures, what if you find out what he inspired those creatures by? What were his references or her references, right? And I can guarantee you will come up with way more original ideas because they're rooted in something, how should I say this, something more solid in a way, because that's his take on that stuff, right? You want to do your own. So try to, and this is a question that I asked at an event that I assisted. I asked, is it wrong to have someone else's work as a reference? They were like, no, but it's better if you can have like real world references and stuff, like it's okay to be inspired by a movie, by a video game, by, but yeah, just find out something that, dude, I can't believe how people get bored with like our planet. Like, this place is full of inspiration everywhere. Yeah. Like, literally, aliens are here. They're not out there. They're like at the bottom of the sea, places where we've never reached and stuff. You'll see creatures you never thought would be possible. And yet I can't believe that we keep convincing ourselves that, oh, everything's invented, there's nothing more to come up with. It's not, dude. It's literally endless. It's all around us. You just got to know where to look. Yeah. You got to stay open-minded and observe more. Yeah. It's cool to take pictures and stuff, videos, but yeah.
Were there any like struggles you had, Camilo, like prior to learning art, or like any struggles you dealt with in the past that might have shaped you today?
Struggles in the past related with art?
Yeah, or just like anything that conflicted with you, or
like how clear did you have it in the beginning? Because sometimes people think like, oh, he's always been this good, or he started with this in mind, with this level in mind, and most of the time we all know how it is. Rather than a straight line from A to B, it's more like a weird pattern of back and forth. Yeah. And then you end up here and everybody takes it for granted. So what was your case like?
I think struggles I had in art is let me think, because I have a lot of them. I have many struggles in art. I think one thing I consider is realizing how important it is to have reference when you are working. When it was starting in art, I always want to came up with ideas from my mind, because I think that was amazing, and I used to think that if I use other artworks as reference, that would be bad. So in my mind, I had like an artist is someone that can create by his own. That was a big mistake, right? So there was a big struggle that I had when I was starting in all the things of art. Even when I get into digital digital arts, I was like very very what's the word? Oh my god, I forgot.
It's okay.
Like a rebel. I was a rebel.
I was like
a
even
rebel.
proud when when I came
Yeah.
up with no reference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look what I did.
No reference, nothing. I want to do something by my own, and then I had people that told me like, hey, this is not how this is working, man. You need to use reference. You need to use other people artworks. You need to learn from the others. You need to steal. Not understanding steal like using other artworks in your own. But I studied composition and everything. That was hard to me because I thought that an artist was basically a man that he was doing everything by his own. No reference. I'm the best one. Then you just find the wall and boom, they tell you like this is not how this works. That's I will say that was important when I was starting in arts. Now when we get into the industry, I will say the struggles by trying to do in concept art exactly what the client was asking to me. That is very 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 hardcore.
Did you start with any like preference or rather focus on what type of concept art you wanted to make, like environments or
yeah, I
characters?
started by doing post-apocalyptic environments. I mean, I built my portfolio in the beginning for that. So I started working with after a while I started working with Alton Winds. That is right now I think it's a big big indie company. And what I found hardcore was to concept from a brief. People think that the client give you a brief, they give you all the must have or must include everything, how is the mood, and they think like because you're an artist you just can go and do that and that's it, that is something easy, and it's not. I think one of the most complicated thing is to basically replicate where your client has in mind in a blank page. That's one of the most hardcore things that I found, and I was a struggle with that in the beginning. I think even now, of course, when you are an art director, things are different because you want the people to follow what you have in mind, and we are talking with the game director and everything. But when you are a concept artist and you are working as a concept artist for a company, or even for freelancing, and they tell you like, we have this brief, and we want you to to do the concept art of this, it is complicated to have something very very similar to your client.
Do you
But what
get
is
art
happening is
blocks?
that art blocks. I don't know if it's fair that I say right now that I don't have art blocks,
It
but I
is
had
fair.
in the beginning, of
That's
course.
good.
I don't.
I don't have. I say I don't have because one thing that I don't say is like the reference is in this world. You have reference everywhere, and you when you are an artist, you need this mindset. You need to eat art. You need to do art. You need to breathe art. So I don't have. I consider I don't have artist blogs. Um, and one thing I always do for not having artist blog is top nailing with photo textures, top nailing and creating from cows, and that's how you can beat the artist blog. Sometimes you find yourself like in a mood that you feel sad or something. Of course, you just don't go and paint. I will say that will be my artist blogs. And one day I'm just wake up and I don't feel that I will do art today. What I will do, well, I'm going to art direct, and that's it. I would say this is my kind of art blogs that I have. You have art blogs?
I don't have art blocks, but sometimes some of my best creations started with an insane amount of unmotivation or discouragement or like unconfidence, you know, like I thought this is not it. Like I can't do it. Then you finish and it's like, holy shit, how could I doubt, you know, myself in the beginning? It comes out as the best thing ever. And yeah, to get rid of just like you said, there's some techniques to get rid of the block phase, you know, like you don't know what to do. Is this wide canvas so beautiful, like imposing? I don't want to mess it up. But dude, all it takes is to kind of get rid of that perfection, which is what blocks you actually. It still blocks me sometimes, you know, like the fear of not making it perfect in a way. Like, oh, it's so perfect inside of my head, but let's see what I can do with it, you know, and I'm so worried about that it becomes like really, really stiff in a way, like unnatural. So the best you can do is to forget about that, you know, just do your thing out of pure passion and love, and stop trying to pursue self-imposed or artificial goals. Like, I need to make the most perfect painting in the world. You know, that's not gonna work like that. It's gonna work with one brush stroke and another one and then another one, and then it's a slow process, you know. And yeah, dude, I don't know. It's just the way it works for me sometimes. Like, just I don't know what to do, then just scribble, you know, scribbles and here and there, make a square, then that becomes like a nice panoramic view of some landscape. It's almost like looking at clouds in a way, you know, when you see patterns and shapes and stuff. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I'm starting to see something. It works with line drawing. It works with, as you said, photo textures or photo bashing. You put things around in ways that you're not really thinking much of. And then you start picking something up. Then you start seeing stuff like, oh, this looks like yeah, I see now. And you keep down that route, you know. Of course, when you have a brief of instructions like you mentioned, that's different, because then you already know what you have to do. You just need to gather the references and think of a way to respect the brief and follow up with your creativity. But when when you don't have that, and it's like personal stuff on your own, and you don't know what to do, but you want to, just let it out, man. Just start somewhere. It all starts with the first step. Everything works this way, right?
Yeah, I think that's true. And
it's the way
even
things,
when you have a brief, you can always find yourself like, how I can do this. So you stare at your white blank page, and you have no idea of how you can face that. And you're reading the brief. And the best way to solve that is just taking your pen and just start doing. Even if it's not working, it will work. This happened to me. Right now we are working on Beyond the Oaks. We are working on an alien area, and that's very, very complicated. So because we've been working with forest, village, you know, witch camps, something more related with nature. You can find easy reference of that. But when it's about working on an alien area, something that is weird, I found myself looking at the brief and trying to see how I can do this. And it wasn't working for me. I tried many times and tried working with photo textures. I even took one spider cave, and I tried to mix a lot of this kind of things to have a result, man. And it was like, no, this is not working. In the end, it was working because I was able to solve it after doing all this process, you know. So I would say, and even if it's not working for you, to have an idea, to concept an idea, even if it's not working, but you are trying, it is working. So you have the 50% of the work ready if you are trying. So just wanted to add that to what you were saying.
Yeah.
Art blocks, you can kill art blocks by doing. No, just saying like, no, I have an art block, I'm not going to do gonna do nothing, you know. And when you are working for a company, when you're working for something big, I mean, you can stare at your white Photoshop stuff and say, no, I have an art block. What I'm going to do?
Of course.
You need to do. you need to do. It's different than when you are doing art for yourself. I just imagine. I mean, I was like that in that moment when I was working in the alien area, and it was like, well, I'm here. What is supposed to do? But I cannot get crazy, because what happened if the game director comes and he looks at me and says, "Hey, you are the art director and you're getting panic." What the fuck?
Yeah.
So it's just always doing, even if it's not working, and if you see there's like no that light in the end of the tunnel.
It's like a muscle you can train, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like that. The best way is just doing and doing.
I remember Anthony Jones talking about this. Like, what do you think they're gonna say if I show up at the office and I sit down and I'm like, you know, as you said, the art director comes in or someone superior comes in and checks on you, and they go like, "You haven't done anything." Yeah, I just gotta wait until, you know, this butterfly comes and, you know, lands on my nose and the inspiration hits me. And it's like, no, dude, that's not how we do stuff. You know, this is a profession. There's money involved. There's a whole team behind you. You know, it's this thing that you have to understand, that this is a team-based kind of job, right? You're not the only one here. This, of course, in the concept art thing, then if you're an illustrator, maybe that can change sometimes, you know? Like, you paint your own stuff, you sell those things, and that's it. You're the only one responsible for everything. But here is, it's so spread and everything's so connected. It's like an entire chain, you know, of different departments. And I don't know if what about you guys? Like, how do you deal with those kind of things? Like, the art block thing, and which are some of your techniques to kind of overcome it, if that's the case?
I just look for a reference. Like, I don't have an idea right away. Okay, so let's spend like 2 hours looking at weird stuff on the internet that's related to this. And look, man, in 30 minutes you can have like 1,000 ideas if you're looking on the right places, you know?
Yeah, bro. Because Pinterest is dangerous.
Just that spark, right? you don't need like a huge flame right out of the get-go. You just need like the little spark that will start your first idea. And usually the first idea, for me at least, it sucks completely. You know, because it's like too commonplace. And then when you get to the like fifth idea, and that's something like super cool and awesome that you're now excited about, and it's like 8 hours later and you want to render it, and that sort of thing, you know, where
it doesn't always come the first try. First attempt.
Exactly. That's why I value thumbnailing a lot, you know. I think it's an essential part of my process, and
it's fast, it's easy, it's free of any pressure.
Yeah. It's
so
like
small
the place
and imperfect.
To screw up.
You can't mess it up. So just keep going.
I need to do more of that. I don't do thumbnailing.
That's why your art sucks, dude.
Do you do a lot of preparation before you kind of commit to one of those finished paintings?
Nope. Usually what I do instead of thumbnailing is I'll take the reference.
Nope.
And I'll build
let's talk
the idea
about the real human beings, you know? Tom, it's on another category. He just does it. So, for you regular folk just like me, you know, do the thumbnail.
Like what you can do is like you take your reference, and I kind of, instead of like drawing things out, I'll just like imagine a different scenario within the reference. So I'll just like look at the the piece of like a photo or something, and I'll see like, okay, what can I change here? Like the camera angle, or like what is the story about? You know, and just kind of like analyze the whole reference, and then I start bringing in more references in to build on top of that. And maybe it's like a color reference, or like a lighting reference, or like compositionally this is interesting, so then I'll change up the whole like photo reference to like my own original idea.
Yeah, because that's quite curious as well, you know, this idea that you can extract anything out of any sort of reference, you know, like you're looking at a a picture of a plant or a flower or something, and you end up using it for some costume design or for even like a building design, or I don't know, you kind of see those shapes, or I don't know, it doesn't even have to be anything related to the reference itself. Like maybe you just extract the color, maybe you just extract the perspective, which has happened a lot, you know. Even I like it a lot how you can make your own references at a point, you know, when you have some idea and you need a more accurate reference, you take a picture with your phone of something, like imagine like a bottle or something, then you turn into like a huge tower or some building, or I don't know. And I follow people on Instagram that do that with regular objects, everyday things, and then they turn them into some sci-fi something. I don't know. It's really creative.
It's kind of like how John Park does those study to concept pieces. How he takes like that study and then he transforms it into a original concept art idea. So it's something like that, where it's like you study the whole reference and then you extract different pieces from other things and then build your own scene just from that one reference that you're studying from. Sky
is the limit. I've seen these videos that the guys from Gravity Sketch just posted recently from an event they hosted. I forgot the name of the artist, but he was explaining how they were going through the ideation process with like paper, you know, almost like origami thing, but, you know, freestyle in a way, and just coming up with shapes, and like it's another way to come up with things. My point is that the sky is the limit. You can literally use anything you want to come up with any idea. So it's up to you every single time, you know, use whatever you want. And don't think that, oh, it's because I need a reference for like a specific magical tree or something, and I need to only look at references from other trees. You never know where maybe you find some unbelievably unknown sea creature or something, you know, with bioluminescence and stuff that convinces you and gives you an idea of how to come up with your concept. I don't know. It's a matter of just letting yourself explore, and don't close your angle of vision, you know, towards a specific thing because you're convinced that's the answer. Stay open-minded and just look around.
Yeah. Do you have any like achievements that you're most like proud of that you've accomplished in life, or like in your art career or something? Would you say?
If it what?
Or like any sort of accomplishment that, you know,
you feel proud of. Yeah, achievements, milestones.
Well, yeah, sure. I have two. When I was a child, I always wanted to work with dinosaurs. We all as a child love dinosaurs, and I used to paint dinosaurs. When I was a child. I had the opportunity to work on, you know, Path of Titans, the game.
Path of Titans?
Path of Titans, yeah.
No.
This is a game of dinosaurs, extinct animals. So they open like some groups. I don't know how to say that, but it's like a small companies working inside what they did, you know, inside the game. So one of them was walking with dinosaurs. So I was able to work as a concept artist doing dinosaurs for
that's so cool
for these guys. Awesome. So I feel like that was amazing, you know, for me. Like it was amazing. I was a child, I wanted to work with dinosaurs, and then I was able to work as concept artist doing these dinosaurs, and the result was crazy. And other thing is being an architecture. I have a career of 4 years of art and design, and I have a career of 4 years of politics. So politics is very different from art, right? And but I think that prepared myself for having the art direction skills, I would say. And one thing that I'm proud is being architecture of Dragonfly Games itself. I've directed other indie companies, something more like a small, but a very big goal was being art director of this game. And then it comes when we have the meeting with Nintendo. It was it was the game
cool.
director, the other leaders, and then it was me, the art director of Beyond the Oaks, talking in front of Nintendo. So that is something that I feel proud of. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was cool, and I think it's a different discipline of being concept artist. You don't do much of concept art when you're working as art director, but it's such a good thing that I will say all the concept artists and all the artists, they always want to be art director of something, and that's how I see that. That's how people come to me and tell me, hey, I want to be art director of a company someday. How is being an art director? How's your work as art director? And I think for for the skills I have and the kind of art that I work in, being an art director is something very good. Is something very good. Of course, you need to work with all the styles when you're an art director, not only what you like the most. It's like I have artists that they work with the speed painting, and they have artists that they work with render concept art. You need to be open to everything because you are an art director. So being an art director is a goal that I would say I like the most.
So would you say the workload has changed or shifted towards different tasks now?
Yeah, from being a concept artist where you have to design everything, where you have to illustrate everything, for being like more administrative part of the studio, and so yeah, like having direction, having more knowledge of different things, just getting in touch with with other departments, like the
communication,
level design. Exactly, the communication is just a essential key part of the art direction. So when I was a concept artist, working as concept artist, I just work with my art director in the art department, and we're not like very related with the level designer guys. So sometimes they want the meeting, and we had the meeting, and they say, like, we need to design this part of the level. Can you please help us with that? But when you're an art director, you need to manage all this stuff. So you have the meeting with the level designers, and you see, hey, this is working here, but we should change this thing because this won't work because of this. I'm gonna say my concept artist to work on this, and this. I'm gonna have the concept artist ready for this day. This is the deadline, and then you need to meet also, for example, with the when we were working for the trailer for Nintendo of Beyond the Oaks. There was a big meeting with the team of cinematics, with the team of animation. So that is the job of the art director, is basically checking that everything is working, that everything goes according to the plan,
To make clear everybody understands everything.
Yeah.
We're on the same page.
Yeah, exactly. One thing that I have when I see my concept artist, and we are designing, for example, we're working on a fortress for Beyond the Oaks. And one thing I was talking with the game director was like, what kind of fortress are we going to have? And they were like, no, this is just a fortress. Just make a fortress and that's it. And the art director says, what kind of fortress? There are different fortresses, there are different architectures, there are different ways to have a fortress. Are we going to have a fortress in the hill? Are we going to have a fortress inside of the forest? Are we going to have a fortress somewhere else? So all the things that when you're a concept artist, you do your research and you just you illustrate and that's it. But as art director, you need the knowledge of what's happening behind this.
Exactly.
What's happening? What is the reason of
it's
why
like
I'm going to create a fortress?
Bubble, right?
Yeah.
Of knowledge and.
So if a concept artist gives you this fortress and you say, is this kind of Italian architecture? Is this kind of Spanish architecture for the fortress? So it's having like more knowledge about what is happening and why it's happening. So that's I will say, yeah.
So you don't get
being a concept artist.
You don't get to paint as much as before, I guess, or.
No, not as I was working as a concept artist. No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how does that make you feel?
You know, that's the reason I always stop nailing. I miss because I think when we are doing art as concept artists, we have good times doing what we do, you know. But when you find yourself directing is something different. Of course, you have to do art, but not the same amount that you are doing when you are a concept artist or illustrator.
Yeah. So I was wondering if you feel the need to kind of compensate like this lack of painting at your current job as an art director, because you don't get to enjoy those ideas that you have. You don't get to paint as much. Do you have any like personal stuff going on your own? Like, are you painting something?
Sorry, my internet was...
It's okay. You came back. Okay, you're gone again?
Okay, it's failing. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So I have there is one folder in my portfolio that is environments. This kind of environments I do for myself for practicing. This is the way I try to feel that empty part of myself being an art director. But I have my personal projects. And I also have some other freelancing stuff that the studio allows me to work as freelancing as well. So I think I feel that part by doing the freelancing stuff of concept art as well.
Nice. Yeah, I was just wondering, because I mean, it must be a busy thing to... It's a different focus, I guess, because, when you get to the studio, you just sit down, focused on your task. But as an art director, you're kind of like an octopus in a way. You got to have multiple arms and be in touch with everybody, and as we said before, like making sure you're on the same page. So I was just curious, to see if, like, on top of all of this, you still managed to find some time to work on your own stuff, to relax or whatever.
Yeah. As I say, I will say
those environments,
what relaxes
right?
me is in the
thumbnails,
environments, and also working on some other small projects. It's like the relaxing time of doing art, because that's what it relaxes me, basically, doing art. And when I have the time in the studio to work on something like doing the concept art, I think that's also a very relaxing part. But yeah, I mean, being art director is being an octopus, of course. It's also being a concept artist, but it's also being someone that needs to clarify
almost on the
everything.
business side of things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure you see like a connection between all those years of different degrees that you've studied that apparently have nothing to do with each other, but I'm sure they all add up in a way. Like I didn't study concept art. I was so focused on illustration. I wanted to go to an illustration school, and they said, best thing we have is this graphic design thing that you do logos, but still I learned a lot from that. Same principles that I'm still using nowadays, right? And many things you can find in photography or filmmaking, all these things that we as artists seem to have to know, those notions about how camera lenses work, how storyboarding works, how, they look like separated branches, from the same tree, but they are the same tree. It's all one thing. So, I don't know. I was just curious.
Everything makes sense in the end when you collect all that information and you use for your work. So I think everything, the politics and because I also, my design and art careers was also what you were saying, the designing logos and everything, and that's what I studied. So in the end, everything works. Even for architecture, concept artist, illustrator. If you have knowledge, that will work for everything. And
and this leads me to the balance kind of topic here. Like, you work a lot, then you gotta relax somehow. You know, as you said, you do those paintings, those thumbnails, those the things that you use to chill and stuff. But do you,
like, what are your pastimes?
Do stuff like work out or go for a run or go for a walk or play games or watch movies? Or when do you stop working? That's what I mean.
When I stop working, there's a problem that I have with my wife. She is medic. She's a medic, and she's always like, "Hey, you don't have to work all day. You don't have to work all day." So the thing is that I feel passion for what I do, and that's good, and that's very good. But sometimes it can be very bad if you spend all day doing art. You know, there is a point that you feel that you need to stop and do something different. It's a problem for me because I love doing art. So
when do you stop?
I just stop. I mean, I'm gonna tell you, I wake up at 6 a.m. and I work. Sometimes I just get working too.
It was like a question, not necessarily in that way. Like, like you wonder, when do I stop, man? If I love doing this, why do I have to stop, right?
No, I mean, well.
So you have like a schedule,
case, it's
right?
Like, you see, for when I feel I need to stop, it's because I feel that what I'm doing right now in terms of art is not working. It's not going somewhere, and I find myself adding some stuff to the artwork. It makes no sense, and then I say, like, okay, I'm tired. I need to stop. This is all for today. I need to stop. But it's always important to have your relaxing times, doing something different from art. And my wife say, because sometimes my relaxing time is like playing video games, and she say, like, okay, you are done with art, you are not going to play video games because you are working for video games. Make something totally different.
Like take a break, like a proper break.
Take a break from the game industry, from the game things.
No more screens.
So no more screens. And there is a point when you feel tired and it's like, I need to stop. I need to stop now.
Yeah, so you got to listen to yourself, to your body in a way. You know, like sitting all day long. Like I've heard people taking breaks like on purpose every hour or so, I guess. It's something that I didn't really care much about until I noticed how important it is, you know, to be able to, which is hard, you know, because when you're so focused on whatever you're doing, you get absorbed into that world or that project or that whatever. And you've been sitting here in the same position for 4 hours, 5 hours, you know, maybe you reach on the side, take a glass of water. That's all the movement you do. You keep working. If we're not aware of these things, they long term, I think we're not designed to stay to stay like that all day long. You know, we got to move.
Yeah, and it's what we do, because sometimes in Dragonfly games we also work on weekends. So I know it's some people just don't like to work on weekends because they want to relax, but sometimes you need to. So for that we always like, so we are going to have a break, let's play Warzone. So we jump to Verdansk, playing Call of Duty. We try to do different things, but it's for yourself. I mean, just taking a break of screens and that's it. I think that's go outside, walk to the forest. I don't know.
Yeah, because you might say, well, we play some games, we take a break mentally, you know, from the work we're doing as artists, but then the body is still in the same place, right? So it's fascinating how this connection works, you know, between body and mind, because when you go out for a walk, your mind also disconnects, you know, and it's like much more relaxing in a way, like all those chemical reactions happening in your body. It's like, it's a different story, but I find it really important, you know, to be aware of those things. And it's good that you have a schedule, because that's something most people don't. I didn't, you know, and I could really feel it. And it almost happened involuntarily in a way, you know, just because I have to go out to walk my boy. We might have seen it back there, my little dog.
Yeah.
Sometimes he just, it's like my angel, you know, he saves me from staying here for too long. He's like, Adrian, let's go. And we go
Same
for a
here.
walk, come back.
The same with my dog.
Yeah, you come back refreshed, like you're ready to go for another, I don't know, couple hours, 3 hours. It doesn't matter. But something as simple as just, instead of keeping your water next to you, which I'm doing here for obvious purposes, like I don't want to interrupt you guys, just say, yo, wait a minute, I got to go to the kitchen, grab my water, don't say anything until, no. So even as simple as that, as just getting up and just walking somewhere else and coming back, just a minute break, but it makes a lot of difference, you know, instead of staying
That's
hooked over here. So yeah, well, this has been running for an hour and a half already. It's been flying, man.
Oh, wow. It's quick.
But yeah, dude, it's like all these topics that I find so fascinating to talk about sometimes, you know, like think about balance, the thing about style, all these questions that seem to be way deeper than they superficially appear to be, right? Like when you dig deeper, you find more connections to other topics and the way they relate to other things. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I find this, going back to the style thing, for instance, it's like something I feel is more attached to your experience, you know, or maybe a mixture of your experience and your goals. So it's like a past and future mixture somewhere.
Yeah.
Rather than just your goals and the style you have in mind, the stuff you want to achieve. And yeah, I don't know. What are you guys thinking?
Yeah.
Well, it's a weird thing that every time we bring people, right, and we try to figure out what happened to them so we can understand ourselves a little bit better as well, you know, and see if there's a pattern that we recognize. And
is that relatability level?
Yeah. I was thinking about that, you know, because it's like, oh, there's these many topics and we touch on, I mean, sometimes more, sometimes less, but we touch on the same topics with almost everyone, and it's always a different story, and it's always like, at the end, you can look at the person and say, huh, I see how, like, all of that lead to this, you know?
Exactly.
And I can't wait to see, like, the next step on the journey as well.
Yeah.
Because...
Yeah. You see the steps? The way they...
You see the steps, yeah. It's like finding, like, footprints, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we look at back to the person's lives and we see the footprints, and then it makes sense.
Yeah, like where are you coming from? It's such a deep question, actually, because there's so many things. Like, what do you mean? How did you get here? There's so many things to take into account. But yeah, I guess all you have to do is do your best with your given circumstances and strive for better, stick to your goals. And it's almost impossible to not have goals, you know, because there's always something, there's always a way to improve any situation. And yeah, I don't know, I guess I'm just mesmerized by how some people can get bored with the amount of things out there to be discovered, you know. Yeah, like some what are your, like in your work I see a little bit of both things, like mostly fantasy but also like some mechs or some mechanical parts. Which one, you know, you feel more attracted towards, if there's anything, or maybe it's like a little bit of everything?
Of topics?
More sci-fi, more fantasy,
I find
organic.
Sci-fi. I find sci-fi one of the most complicated things to do, so I go for fantasy.
Oh.
I do like fantasy. I love fantasy.
No, I really feel you there, because I think the same. I'm like, I don't know, it's like those perfect shapes and the hard surface stuff, right? It's like more straight lines and perfect. And with organic designs, let's say I'm permitted to mess up a little more here, a little more there. And you probably won't notice. But
I like to
rather
combine both. It's fun.
Yeah, that's also a good thing. Like I'm recently doing with these vehicles that I'm designing. I've never made any vehicle before, but I need to do it for my project, so I'm getting into it. And yeah, I just rather than it's easier. That one is harder, so that's why I do this. It's more of a personal calling, I guess. Like it just happens, that everything that inspires me tends to be more rooted in organic shapes and designs and stuff.
I think it's very good to explore.
That doesn't mean that I don't
topics.
enjoy. Yeah, but that doesn't mean I don't enjoy the other stuff as well, right?
Exactly.
Which is something that I was talking to Andrea about before we recorded this right now. We were saying that it's funny how you like one specific style or one specific topic, right, to work on. But then you also enjoy many other things that you would never see yourself working in because it's just not you. It happens to me with stylized stuff, like for instance, World of Warcraft or Overwatch or you name it, right? I feel like I prefer to work more on like the realistic side of the spectrum. Yeah. But also not too realistic, so it's still like painterly in a way. Like you can tell that by just taking a look at my work. So I was wondering, in your case, like what would that be?
I prefer, as I say, I prefer to go with. I prefer to go with fantasy because I find very interesting to create works that don't exist. So I always try to work with fantasy, and for the games, I think big amount of the games I have worked on, there's being fantasy, and some very like a small part of the games I've worked on was like something more render stuff, sci-fi stuff, post-apocalyptic stuff, yeah, like the Alson Winds projects. So I don't know, more for fantasy. I
nice.
Like fantasy.
Nice, bro.
I guess. Well,
yeah.
If you guys want me to ask one last question, if 3 wishes were granted to you, what would you wish for?
Oh, that's
3
so cool.
wishes.
Go. More wishes.
I'll say the first wish. Oh my god.
It can be anything. It doesn't have to be art.
Could be anything. One wish is I would like to have my dog forever. Because
nice.
Dogs are love, Yeah. What else? Second wish. I don't know, man. I will say, if I die, of course, I will die. When I die, I would like to be in one of my artworks. If like you can have your life in one of your better artworks. Just imagine that. And the third will be more wishes. Yeah, of course.
More
Why
wishes.
Not? More wishes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice way to quick save.
Yeah, I'm not a religious guy, so I prefer to think when I die, I will go to one of my artworks and that's it. Living in that world.
In one of your worlds. That's awesome. Yeah. Also, we will leave your links and your tags in the description and stuff. But also, I've seen you're selling something on your ArtStation store, right? It's like an oil painting effect or something like that. I forgot the name.
It is a pack of brushes that you can use for doing digital oil paintings. That is something that I really like to do. I have those artworks on Instagram. I don't have it on my portfolio. I don't know why, but
nice.
I have them on my Instagram. So I prepare like I would say professional brush pack of digital oil paintings for painting like the old masters. So
nice.
Yeah. That's what I sell, yeah.
Yeah, because I saw you have this kind of particular style, of course, and then you can see the harsher brush strokes that makes you wonder, like, what brushes do you use? The classical question. So I
only use one brush. I have a pack of brushes, but I only use one brush for my work.
Right? Isn't that like, I can relate to that. Not only one brush, but maybe let's say you have 100 and you end up using only 5 out of those 100, right? All the time.
Let's say only 2 brushes then.
Damn,
I only work
dude.
with 2 brushes. Yeah. That's good. Ian Bigner told me, you know what makes a professional artist? I said, what? Working with only 1 brush. And it was like, oh yeah.
Oh.
Thanks, you work with only one brush, right?
Yeah, you just pick the round brush and you go with it.
Well, not the round brush, but
let me choose some texture, bro.
Something more with texture, that can simulate textures, details. But yeah, I always work with 1 or 2 brushes for all of my work. Of course, you can find some BFX brushes that you can use, but
yeah. I mean, those are the ones that, they could be useful sometimes, but they tend to, I don't know, in my case at least, I get bothered by the amount of space taken by all those brushes. When I try to change the brush or something, I see all those cloud brushes, tree brushes, so maybe I only keep a few of them, the basic amount that I need to do stuff, and the rest it's images, textures, exactly. Additional stuff.
And even when I'm using only 2 brushes, I continue buying brush pack. I don't know why, but it's like I see brush packs, I need to buy that, man. I don't know why, but I love it.
Happened to me too, man. And then you realize, nah, I don't need this one.
Yeah, exactly.
You keep sticking to yours. But,
that's true.
Yeah, dude, it's been a really cool episode, and we really appreciate you coming here, offering your time and your story and stuff. Yeah, it would be nice if you could come back for some other episode in the future, but we wish you all the best in your career. And again, thank you for just sharing everything with us today. Anything else you guys want to say before?
No, thank you so much, guys.
I'm going to get that brush back. That's what I will do as soon as this is done.
Get that
I recommend that.
Would be useful.
I recommend that. You can take a look at my digital paintings on Instagram. No, guys, thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor being talking with you guys. You're top artists, and I really respect. And I've been following Dom from a while ago. I think it's been like 1 year ago that I discovered Dom's art. Yeah, and Adrian also. And for Andre, I think it was recently, but I've been following Dom's art time ago. I think you have some courses, right?
Yeah, I'm at Brainstorm right now, but planning to do more mentorships like later on.
Yeah. So no, guys, it's an honor to be here with you guys, top artists. I will always respect. And it was a good talk. I recommend you to check Beyond the Oaks game, the game that we are working right now. Yeah. And if you have Nintendo Switch, just wait for it. Just wait for it.
Oh, nice.
I did.
Yeah, dude, the respect is mutual, and we thank you again for coming. So you guys make sure you like this video, subscribe, go follow Brushinsky on Instagram, our station, and everything else we're going to drop there. And buy the brush pack. And just stay awesome, guys. See you next time.
Any question, just direct message me, and that's it.
That's it. Goodbye, everybody. See ya.